Sherman's total war march from Atlanta to Savannah is very important in a number of ways. One is that it's entirely destructive of the South psychology. The goal for someone like William Tecumseh Sherman, whose idea was all war is hell, was trying to make the South understand that they needed to end this war by making it so that he would really take the war to the land, trying to devastate as much as possible so that people would send word to Southern soldiers that were fighting away from there that you need to end this because if not, everything is going to be totally destroyed. Now, he lived off of the land where he didn't have supply lines coming from the north. So he and his soldiers made their way, in many ways, brutally, from one part of Georgia all the way to the coast at Savannah, and then took a left and went up into Savannah, where they tried to wreak havoc on what he called the hellhole of secession, South Carolina. Now, the reason this is really important in a political context is that Abraham Lincoln is running for re-election in 1864. He's running against the Democrat George McClellan, who should seem familiar as the guy who, under Lincoln, would prepare, and wouldn't really fight. Now, he lost at the Battle of Bull Run and didn't achieve the greatest victory at Antietam, so he'd actually been relieved twice by Lincoln. Now, Lincoln ran on a ticket that included Southerner Andrew Johnson. Now, he was a Southerner from Tennessee, but at the same time, he was a Unionist. Namely, that was somebody that still stayed loyal to the Union like some parts of Tennessee did. Now, technically, they ran on something called the Union Party, which was a combo of the Republicans and the War Democrats. The War Democrats were those Democrats that supported war. And in 1864, it didn't necessarily look like Lincoln was going to get reelected. There were issues with people like radical Republicans who said, you know what, you haven't gotten us out of this war yet. No president had won a second term since Andrew Jackson had done so in 1832. People were pissed off about the Emancipation Proclamation. There were radical Republicans who said you haven't done enough to actually really help the slaves. So in light of all of this, Sherman's victories in Atlanta were actually quite helpful to him, along with Lincoln's idea where he said, don't change horses in midstream, which is something we're going to see with FDR in World War II as well, which is, listen, the worst thing you could do now is actually have a new president in the middle of this war. Now, at the end of the day, Lincoln does prevail over McClellan, and he is reelected in 1864. His second inaugural address, which is full of references to the Bible, has the famous words, with malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. And this idea really speaks to Lincoln's belief that you want to try to put the country back together as painlessly and as seamlessly as possible, which is clearly reflected in his Reconstruction plan, the 10% plan, which he actually brought up before he ran for re-election. So the Reconstruction plan was actually in 63, and the inauguration and the inaugural address are in 1865.